Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Scaling Deep podcast. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app or the YouTube channel, if you're watching here, hello, I'm Lisa Princic. I'm a membership coach and business strategist. And today we're going to talk about the most common pricing myths that you'll hear out there. And I'm going to bust them wide open for you because we get membership pricing so wrong so much of the time and don't even realize how many options we have out there. Now, this is extra fun for me because I was just doing a presentation for an upcoming membership summit, which I will share with you soon on how to sign up for. And this is just the perfect topic to talk about right now. So, what are big pricing myths? Well, I'm going to share with them three of them, and then I'm going to share with you why they are wrong and why you can think differently about how you price your membership. I also want to say that I have a giant course inside the Scaling Deep Society that you can access when you join the Scaling Deep Society. And if you want to find out more, you just have to hop on over to my website and how you can find out more about that. But I have an in-depth course on this because I know for some people, this is the biggest barrier to starting and growing their membership is trying to figure out, well, what is the price point that I can live with for a long time that's going to make the most sense? There's a lot that goes into valuing something. It's complicated, right? Like we know that there are premium products out there that seem to be priced only because of the name or because of the image, while there's other perfectly good products out there that have the same quality that just don't have the name brand. And that is where value pricing comes in. And so therefore it is tricky, right? There's a lot that goes into it. But I'm going to share with you a few of the myths so that you can at least be free from those. So you'll have a better idea of how to go about your pricing. Okay, let's dive in. So, number one, your membership needs to be low ticket. Now, a lot of people think that memberships are low ticket, and a lot of memberships are best suited to be low ticket, especially if you're growing a very high volume program and the things that people are learning inside are fairly simple and easy to access. And that is a very common type of program out there. However, that's not necessarily true. Number two, you need to stuff everything into your membership, and people need a ton of content in there. And it still all needs to be at that low price. So that is the second myth, is that you've got to kind of over deliver on your membership by putting in everything under the sun inside it. So you're giving everyone the most possible value. And that's not necessarily going to serve you or your members either. And I'm going to share more about that in just a second. And number three, you need to give people a whole bunch of different options on how to buy into your program and give them like this tier or that tier or this price option or that pricing option. And I just want to share with you in a minute why giving them too many options is really going to backfire. Okay. So I'm going to dive in one at a time. So, number one, memberships do not need to be low ticket. Just because you see ones out there that are huge, because guess what? We hear about the most in the world? Huge memberships. Anything that's big, we see more of. There's a ton of businesses, brands, all kinds of things that are running in the background that some people are like super fans of that you've never heard of, depending on where you live, what country you're in, what state, province, you name it, you're in. You're not going to hear about every single brand. They could still be significant. So you're going to hear about the things that are huge out there that are like household names. And those are the ones that are kind of spread across so many different regions and so many different channels because of their size. But it doesn't mean that everything out there is running that way. There are a lot of memberships out there, and these tend to be quieter because they are not mass marketers and they're delivering great value, and they don't need to market massively because they just have a really great offer with great retention because they get great results. And they're not necessarily charging a really small amount for it. Because think about the difference between a membership that is $1 a month and you have 100,000 members in it. That's $100,000 a month membership. And then think about a $1,000 a month membership with 100 members in it. The scale is just so different. You've got 100 people sharing and spreading the word about your membership compared to 100,000, right? So those might seem like ridiculous stretches in value, but you can just, the word of mouth on the one is going to be so much more viral than the other one. And it doesn't mean that the other one is not simpler to run, easier to keep people in, and just an easier program and business to run when you've got way less customers. You don't have as many questions, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all kinds of those running that you don't hear about because they're not the braggable stories so much, right? And wow, that's amazing. Like that's a hugely profitable, highly valuable program that you're running really easily. And it's got longer lifetime value for each member. And it's so exciting. And yet, you don't hear about it because it is higher ticket, less people. So just because you're not seeing that everywhere, and just because the subscriptions of the world are taking over in terms of the airwaves and all of our normal services that we're used to paying for in different ways are turning to monthly subscriptions, it doesn't mean that everyone can survive off of a $9 a month membership or $9 a month subscription. If you are a coach or consultant or professional and you're delivering knowledge and coaching, you're not going to be able to survive off of an amount that low, and it's not necessarily going to work for you. So that's why having a low ticket membership isn't necessarily the right answer, and it's not the only way. So you can charge the value of the program. That's what I teach about inside membership school and all the in-depth trainings I have that go along with that, so you can really, really figure that out. All right. Number two, stuffing everything into your membership. This is similar in saying that you have to undercharge for your program and have so much in there so every single person has access to every single kind of thing. And that can happen over time, and that's perfectly fine. It's okay for you to amass a pile of content, but it's not because you're intentionally trying to give people too much content. Because if you've had a membership for a couple years, like I have, and you've just amassed a lot of different modules and content and trainings in specific areas, that doesn't mean that every single new person coming into your program needs to see all that up front. And in fact, that can backfire. I often don't share everything with my new members because I don't want them to get lost in a sea of stuff, get overwhelmed, and not start. So just because that's there and that does serve people to stay for the long term, it doesn't mean that you have to purposely bend over backwards to create more content just because you think you need to create more content. All you need to really get clear on is what is it that's going to get your members results and get them to cross the finish line and start to achieve. And that's the stuff that you keep reinforcing inside your program. And you can do that in different ways. It does not have to be because you feel you are obligated and committed to cranking out content every month, especially if you realize that a lot of people aren't using it. And you've got to check in and find out, or else you're going to be wasting your time and wasting their time and helping them feel overwhelmed because you're like, I've got this new thing. And then I've got this new thing and I've got this other new thing, and they don't need any of it. And then they think they need to because you're guiding them, but they don't actually need it because it's not going to help them get to where they want to go. So this is where you have to think about, it's not all about the content. It really isn't. I run my membership very light on content, even though now I have a ton of it because I create new trainings that I know my clients need and my members need, or I'll do working sessions with them. And there's just so much knowledge to percolate when we take a subject area and then we play with it in different ways by like having different people join the calls and apply it to their specific situation or business model, right? So we're constantly learning by being hands-on with things. So you can find your way to do it, and you don't have to cram everything into that. In fact, you can separate courses out from your membership. You can sell it all together at a larger price point. That's one of the ways that you can get around that. So just think about the fact that you don't have to be stuffing everything into it just for it to look good, because I think 10 years ago, that was the way people bought. Now people buy for results and they don't really care what the path is because a lot of people are very aware that more features, more benefits does not actually get them further. Everyone's cluttered. Everyone's overwhelmed with too much stuff and they're just looking for simplicity, right? Number three, having many pricing options for your prospects. I know we like to give people variety and we want to try and appeal to everyone and say, you might want this because you got a smaller budget, and you want this because you've got a greater budget and greater need, and you are more committed to this for the long term, and you just need to come in and check this out. And there's different buyer styles, different personalities, different readiness levels, different sophistication in our members and our buyers, right? So you'd think that a smorgasbord of a million different ways that they can get into your program is going to make sense because you're allowing them to customize it to their exact situation at the time. But guess what? That does not work. Never works. And it doesn't work from a level of saying, oh, you can buy month to month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12, as well as having different tiers. And I'm going to go through those two things separately and tell you why they don't work. Okay, so the first thing is just like the time of it. Like, how much time do they need to sign up for? And one of the things that they're going to be looking at is like, not only just how much money do they have, but like, what do they need to get the results that they need? Do they need to show up for a month? Do they want to check you out first because they're really unsure of what they're buying into? Is it so irresistible that once they get in, they'll stay because it is lower ticket, and the support in the community is really valuable to them, even if they're just lurking? You're all going to have different types of memberships with different kinds of value propositions inside and deliverables. So I like the idea of you being the guide. You're the one that tells them how long they need to invest in it to get the result that they want. And that might be a year, and it might be 6 months, and it might be a minimum of 3. Of course, locking people into a year only seems a bit non-membership like, but it can be, because think about memberships often came from associations, and a lot of associations have annual subscriptions, and that is a perfectly normal way to buy into a membership program. But you need to figure that out. What is going to be best for them, and what is it going to be worth for you to sell it in the way you sell it? Because nobody really needs to sit through an hour-long webinar to spend $27 on a no commitment other than just 1 month, right? That's overkill. So you will want to think about, well, how are you selling it? What do you really want them to buy into? Because I know people can't design, build, and launch a membership or even grow it in 1 month. And therefore, I don't offer that as a minimum, because I don't really want people coming in and thinking they're going to get a quick bit of knowledge or quick fix. And I also have a lot of content inside, and I have a full-fledged program worth thousands of dollars in my membership. Therefore, I don't want people to come in for just a month. It's just not worth it. It doesn't do much for my business, really. It just gets curious people. And I'm looking for commitment. I want results. That's my business model. So you will figure out what that pricing type needs to be, but don't give them too many options. Give them 2. And if you are going to give 2, and one happens to be stay for a year and take a few months off and make it really irresistible, then that's great. But giving them 1 month and 3, or 3 months and 6, or even 6 months and 12 are not clear enough, because nobody really knows if they need to be in a program for 6 months or a year. No one really knows if they need to be in a program 3 months or 6 months. Those two are so close together in both those examples that it's a bit confusing as to what they would choose. And therefore, they're just sitting there going like, well, I don't know which one. And the moment they don't know, you just cast a doubt in their mind. They're not going to follow through with clicking on something because they're stuck or lost, or they're like, maybe I should ask a question, and then they don't do it, and then they just don't follow through and buy. And we just cannot have that kind of confusion, because this is not a sales call. You don't have time to explain this to people, and people won't always bother to reach out and ask that question and get an answer. And therefore, you probably have lost the sale. So keeping the pricing options very, very clear and not confusing is going to be how you're going to win. And just to add to that on the tier thing, I'm going to just give this quick and dirty spiel on tiers. Tiers are separate offers. They are very confusing. The only time they really work well is in SaaS businesses, when it's based on the amount of users, or the amount of counts, or the amount of replies, or whatever you need to access. It's based on volume. It's not based on getting way more benefit. So for example, if you've got a membership in tier 1, join the membership, join the community, get the content, but you don't get the coaching calls, then how are they going to know if they need the coaching calls or not? You're asking them to make that choice by presenting two of them in front of you in front of them at the same time. And that's just going to give them more pause for trying to figure it out. And then how does that explain how you sold to them in the first place when you did, say, a webinar pitch or a launch or something where they're like, here's the offer and here's how you get the value. But you also have to look at now, do you need even more value? And then they're questioning, well, am I going to get the result if I take the lower tier? So then you've just added more confusion. Your brand promise gets a bit confusing. So I would highly recommend that you just keep that simple and either do an upgrade to get the next level after they join to see the value inside and see if they need more, etc. But never put that in front of them as offer one, offer two, because you're just going to lose them right there. It works in very few cases. You're better off to allow them to make the choice later when they get to know you. All right. So those are my membership myths busted. I hope that's given you some clarity. Always know that I have a ton of this thought through, fleshed out in course format and in discussion format inside Membership School and the Scaling Deep Society. And if you're curious to find more about how you can get in, just post a comment and ask, or head on over to scalingdeep.com, get signed up for my free training, and you will get your best chance and best price to get access to that program. And you can get started right away and jump on a coaching call with me. Thanks for being here. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss another episode. I've got lots of great things coming up. Bye for now.